G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is part 2, the second time we've run this segment. Whether we're asking the question, should you hold or should you fold? Let's go.
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Bryant to Shaq.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Anything's possible.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
Murray for three. Wow! Unbelievable. Making it rain in New York.
We the North are now we the champions.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Mamba out.
All right, g'day and welcome back to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys NBA and on Instagram at Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball. And as always, I'm joined with my good friend, Callum Mack, the Guru. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Look, don't worry about me, Mitch. How are you going?
I'm doing excellent, mate. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. We got you back after some technical difficulties of the last podcast. So sorry to all the fans out there that missed your take on Gary Payton II, the Mitten.
Look, it was a good one. The Mitten, exactly. Watchability, 5 stars.
Yes, yeah, the 10th category in fantasy basketball. He does shine there with all those highlight dunks. The man can get up.
He's got some bunnies on him, that's for sure.
Yeah. So it's good to have you back and your beautiful voice shining through our headphones. So let's go on to our reoccurring segment, the return of Hold or Fold. We've got a few names that we're going to go through today. And we are starting off with a couple of Memphis Grizzlies players. I'm going to start with my guy first, and then we'll go on to your boy, DeAnthony Melton. Is it time? We've got Dylan Brooks back. Is it time to fold Melton, or should we hang on to him? What are your thoughts?
Look, I'll be honest. I'm leaning on the fold side.
Okay.
The points are not there.
Yeah.
The assists for a point guard isn't really there either. He's still someone that can kind of be high on turnovers. The only thing that really right now is shining bright, even with the limited minutes, has been the steals.
Yeah.
They have been maintained. So that's probably the only convincing argument you could, if you're desperate for steals on your team, you could hold on to him. But at this point, I think it's probably time to let him go because he has been under 10 points the last 4 games. And that's including a game where he did have 32 minutes a game. But since then, it's been in the teens, 17 minutes, 19 minutes, 17 minutes. That stuff doesn't win you fantasy, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, it sucks, man, because you watch this guy, you know he's good, and Dylan Brooks comes back in and he's back playing basically under 20 minutes a night most nights. In the last week, he's the 232nd ranked player, averaging 21 minutes a night. Yes, it's poor shooting. He's shooting 29% basically, which won't be what he does. So it will be better than that, but it's really, it's frustrating because you know he's good. You know when he gets the minutes, he's going to be a good fantasy player. But I guess I think I agree with you that we've seen this before. We saw it last year. We expected it to happen when Dylan Brooks comes back. It has happened when Dylan Brooks comes back. So unfortunately, I think you can move on. I hope you enjoyed the ride while you had him on your team because he was basically a top 60 player for the most of the time he was starting. But it's evaporated fairly quickly. I don't know, maybe you can do a quick sell high if you're still going based on the ranking, but I think it is okay to fold DeAnthony Melton as much as I hate to admit it. I am holding him into my dynasty team at the moment because you never know what's going to happen in the future, and we know that he can put up stats, but on all redraft teams, maybe not in your deeper leagues, 14, 16s, I'd probably still hold him, but in your 10s and potentially 12s, he's probably a fold. Would you agree, obviously?
I completely agree. I was never as high on him, but look, the steals and blocks were there for a guard, and you can't deny that. The steals are still there, but he's still look, 4.5 points a game is pretty. Yeah, you're taking a lot of you're pretty much sacrificing that at that point if that's all you're getting. So
yeah, those other stats that were boosting his ranking up are no longer there. So I agree. What about your boy Desmond Bane? Now he has remained in the starting lineup. So his minutes haven't taken quite as big of a hit. Yeah, I thought so too. Look, let's be honest. I thought he'd stay in the starting lineup too. But do you think that we hold or fold Desmond Bane?
I think we hold on to him. I'll be honest. I think we hold on to him.
Okay.
Yeah, look, his production won't be as good. I think we can all expect that. Dylan Brooks, he's been averaging 16.5 field goals a game, which is pretty wild. If you look at what Desmond Bane has been doing, it's been about 13 attempts a game for the whole season. When you look since Brooks has been back, it has dropped down to about 10. So there's a couple of shots there he's missing. He also has been shooting it pretty bad over the past week or so. But that being said, as you touched on, he still remains in the starting lineup. He's still getting minutes. That's the one biggest thing for fantasy value. I would expect maybe a steals to come up. Hopefully, you think it could. But points and rebounds is pretty good. You get the threes there. He's worth holding on to, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I think he's a hold just. I think he's close to a fold for me. Like, to me, he doesn't have the same upside as Anthony Melton in terms of like a per minute basis. But because he does have the minutes over Melton, he's probably safer to hold and just hope that the usage swings back his way. He was putting up some decent points per game. The threes obviously were his big thing as well. The assists and rebounds are there-ish. Low turnovers, solid percentages as well. The steals, I don't know if the steals are going to be there. I don't think he probably gets over 1 per game, but he'll get close, so it's not the worst in the world. I think his upside is not very high. I think he's going to be around that like 100 to 120 kind of ranked player. So if he's your worst player on your team, then you could move on for him, but I genuinely would hazard a guess that he's probably not your worst player. So for that reason, I'm going to label him a hold at this point. But by no means is it like a hold at all costs and don't ever contemplate dropping him, because it could very well get there pretty quickly. Would you agree with that kind of assessment, or are you still a little bit high on him?
Yeah, I agree. I kind of see him at this point. I can see him go in and out of the waiver wire, depending on how deep your league is. There could be some guys getting hot, and it could be worthwhile maybe just to stream a few players instead of holding on to a Desmond Bane, because he would be on the lower end of your roster. So I do agree with you there. Especially
because his biggest thing is the three-pointers, and you can find threes on your waiver wire pretty readily. You know, you can pick up a Patty Mills, and he'll hit you like 9 threes in a game. So shout out to our boy Patty Thrills representing the Aussies out there. But I think, for that reason, it does sort of lend itself to be maybe you could rotate that position. Let's move on to the first player to find himself in this segment twice, Robert Covington. I'm asking the question again. Last time we said he was a hold. Callum, are we holding or are we folding Robert Covington?
Look, it saddens me to say it, but I'm folding.
Yeah,
I'm folding on Robert Covington. I understand there's some guys out there who drafted him in the 70s. His preseason rank was 73, and for that reason, you might have a bit of an attachment for him, but you've kind of seen his minutes drop a fair bit. It's been down to 19. It's been in the low 20s. He is a guy that probably really does need his minutes per game. Otherwise, I mean, the hit that you take in points and the hit you take in assists and field goal, like that, there are 3 categories there that you are kind of hurting. Yes, look, the steals and blocks can be there with the threes, which, look, that's 3 pretty good stats. The turnovers are good there, but as well. But I guess what I'm coming to is he probably can fit some builds. But in my opinion would be just get rid of him. If he's just kind of like on the end of your roster, you can get better guys out there and stream them.
We copped a bit of flack. I think I did a podcast. I think this was the one where you're away, Callum, and I said that I had dropped Robert Covington. I said he was a droppable player in 10-team leagues. I didn't say he was a droppable player in 12-team leagues. If you go back to that video, you'll see that. I think he is a fold in 12-team leagues now. He's not. Like we said, he's not you go out there and you just drop him for nothing. You probably want to add someone who's got a bit of value, but he's probably going to be like one of your worst players on your team. I don't think the upside is there anymore. The very concerning thing, like you touched on, is those minutes. We talked about Nazir Little in our waiver wire show. He seems to be taking some minutes off Robert Covington, and he's never been a player that just like per minute just comes in, puts up these stats when he's in there. Sometimes he'll take 2 or 3 shots a game in 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So he can go missing very quickly. If he doesn't get those steals and blocks, he gives you literally 0. So by no means is he someone. Now, there's always the people always say that he's a slow starter and like he'll come back and average, top 50 numbers. I don't think that's happening this year. I think he's older. There's different things going on in Portland at the moment. There are people coming for his minutes, and I'm officially ready to call it that I don't think we're getting the old Robert Covington back. He was always a guy that never gave you points, but he was giving you a lot of other things, a lot more rebounds, a lot more. The steals were at a steal and a half, the block and a half. It was over 2 threes a game. Those kind of things were always there, but it's all come down a little bit, and the minutes are coming down now as well. So I think you can move on from Robert Covington if you need to. All right, let's move on to the next player. A slightly different take on the hold or fold genre, but it's an injured player, Collin Sexton. I guess this is a loaded question because it might depend on if you've got an IR, an IL spot, or if you don't. But on the general level, are we holding or folding Collin Sexton? What are your thoughts on the injured Cavs guard?
I'm actually folding on Collin Sexton as well. If you have an injury spot, look, you could just hold him there for a bit and see what happens. Me personally, my team is plagued with injuries right now. So if he was on my team, I would be letting loose. I would be cutting him. I think he's gone. The team kind of build has changed. You got Mobley there. You got Garland with a lot more usage. He's just not quite the same fantasy player as he was, sadly. And with this injury, it's a pretty shocking injury. You don't like anything to the knee. They're saying it was a torn meniscus.
Yeah, surgery might be an option.
Yeah, he could be missing a huge chunk of time here. So even if he does come back towards the end of the season, they could be, look, you never know what the Cleveland Cavaliers could be. They could be tanking at that point. They could be in the playoff run and they just want to ease him back with some minutes off the bench. I don't think it's quite worthwhile. So I'm going to have to say to fold on Collin Sexton.
Yeah, I would agree as well, because if you look at his ranking, even when he was playing, I guess it's impacted by the injury affected game, but in 29 minutes a night, he was the 242nd ranked player because he's giving you 0 blocks, the rebounds and assists are low, the free throw percentages dropped down as well, the threes have dropped down, he's no longer giving over 20 points a game anymore. The turnovers are still relatively high compared to the assists that he gives you. He's just not a good fantasy player because he lacks a lot of areas. So, like you said, he's not worth the wait. If he's the only injured player you have and you can just sit him on the IR spot and wait until someone else gets injured and maybe you've got a good run of luck and, you can just get him back in there. But like you said, chances are that's not the case for most teams out there. There are a few injuries, COVID situations coming out. Chances are you're going to have a higher priority person to put on that injured reserve spot. So for me, I do agree that he is a fold. Although, just keep an eye and see what his timetable is. Maybe he's back sooner than later, and you might be able to stash him closer to the dates. But at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be at least a couple of months, if not longer. And I don't think you can hold him for that long. Let's go on to we'll start with your guy here. A couple of Houston Rockets. I'm not sure. Maybe we might have our first disagreement in the hold or fold segment here, Cal. But are we holding Jalen Green?
Oh, dude, I've been thinking about this a lot. He's on my team, and it's been tough. I'll be honest. As an owner, it has been tough. He hurts me on field goal. He's ranked 254th on Yahoo right now. It's pretty shocking. Yeah. 36% from the field. 3 turnovers a game. That's not stats that help your team. And everything else is just pretty mediocre. He doesn't get any defensive stuff. The only real big positive he gives is probably the 3-pointers, and that's at 1.9 a game. And you can get that. We touch on this all the time. You can get the threes on the waiver wire.
Yeah. So
it does hurt me. I've been considering getting rid of him. I just can't quite do it yet because there's a lot of rooks that do bounce back.
Yeah.
We do realize he pretty much has been handed the keys. Maybe it does click. That's the only reason I am holding on to him right now. So I guess I am a hold right now, but I'm getting close to a fold. I really am.
Very interesting. Yeah. Look, he's a fold for me. The only reason that I would keep him is if you're punting field goal percentage. If you're punting field goal percentage, which I probably would have suggested in the preseason anyway, we kind of expected these rookie guards to come out and perform poorly, especially in that category. We knew, like you said, he was going to be handed the keys, and when you combine that with someone who's a rookie guard in the NBA, it equals poor field goal percentage. So, but even to be honest though, the assists are lower than we thought, the steals are lower than we thought, even the free throw percentage is under 80%, which is surprising. So I thought he'd be better in all those areas there. The scoring, I think I remember you saying that he was going to be a 20 points per game scorer, I think in the preseason. Do I remember that correctly?
Look, I gave that a guarantee. It's not too late. Look, we are in November. Let's not joke around. We are still in November. And that is, look, one of the reasons I am keeping hold of him.
Yeah. It is early. I think that I have given him a month, however, and I'm a bit down on his overall fantasy game. I am. If we go back to, I think we were talking in Dynasty and our Dynasty rookie rankings, he was the person of the top 4. This was before we started considering players like Şengün and Scotty Barnes, but the top 4 with the 2 guards, Mobley and Cade Cunningham, that I thought that he was the kind of guy that I was the least confident in because I didn't like his steals and blocks, and I wasn't too sure about his assists and things like that. So I thought he was like the highest risk player of all of those guys. Not to say that I'm giving up on him yet, but there are a few things that I am concerned about him, even long term, because you've sort of seen this movie play out before with inefficient scoring guards. We just talked about Collin Sexton before. If they don't bring a whole lot else, you do have that worry. But he has, even in the poor playing time, he has shown some games where he shot like 8 threes in a game. So he does have that potential to give you lots of points in threes, but I do worry about the other stuff that might keep his value. So I'm a fold unless you're a punt field goal percentage team. And even then, you might be able to find something better at the moment out there. But yeah, I think you're still in the hold camp. Is that right? We've had our first disagreement.
I'm still in the hold camp, but that's because I did invest a bit of stock into him, and he's hurting me so far. It is killing me a bit. If someone could outbluff me right now, and I would have to fold on him. I think that's where it is. I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball at you right now, Mitch. We're talking rooks. My team is kind of Mr. Rooks. I do have a Jalen Green. I do have a Scotty Barnes, who has been a bit of a hit for me.
Yep.
I also have a Şengün. We have said to pick up Şengün in the past.
Yes.
Would you, if you had a Şengün right now, like I was high on him, I was high on his fantasy value. Are you a hold or fold on Alperen Şengün?
Oh, I'm definitely holding Şengün. It's only a matter of time. Like I think they've hinted at a roster or a starting lineup change, and even in the limited playing time with Şengün, he's putting up serviceable numbers. He is currently, yes, he's the 216th ranked player, but he's giving you 1.4 steals. The field
1.4 steals.
Yeah, 1.4 steals, 48% from the field. The rebounds, he's had a couple of double-double, or he had a double-double game recently. So the potential is there, and as soon as he gets more minutes, he's going to skyrocket. And I don't think it's far away. I'm more confident in Şengün than I am in Green, for example, because the thing that's holding Şengün back is the minutes, and that can change at any point.
Okay, I guess we agree. Look, I'm still holding on to Şengün as well.
Yes,
I want to see that man explode.
Yeah,
and I think it will be a late season playoff kind of time when he does, and that's the reason I have him.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that too because he's my dynasty rookie that I drafted this year. So very excited with what he can bring in the future, and he's looked good. Let's move on to the other rookie that we're going to be talking about, Jalen Suggs. So a couple of rookies, they're both struggling. Let's talk about Jalen Suggs. Are you holding or are you folding Jalen Suggs?
Dude, 31% from the field. I think that's a fold, right?
Yeah, it's
terrible.
Shocking.
Look, the minutes are there. Yes, that's a positive. But my God, 31%. Like if you're not punting field goal,
yeah, it's pretty bad.
You have to get rid of him, right? Or you just bench him for a while. I mean, if you can afford to just bench him for a while, and maybe similar to Jalen Green that he does pick it up. That's what I'd be going with because he's only 1 3-pointer a game. I guess that goes hand in hand with the field goal.
Yeah.
Like, he just isn't hitting his threes at all. Steals are pretty bad. I expected the steals to be good.
Yeah,
28 minutes a game, 0.8 steals. That's a surprise to me. 3.5 turnovers as well. You do expect that from the rookies. I guess he's getting the ball in his hand, but at this point, I feel like Cole Anthony is just alpha dogging the shit out of Suggsy.
That's true.
The usage isn't quite there. He's kind of like playing an off guard, and I guess he's a bit uncomfortable. So I'm folding on Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, look, I'm higher on Suggs than I am on Green. I think for the reason I explained before, I think he's got more.
Green can explode though.
Yeah,
for
look,
40 points, I reckon.
Yeah, the points are that obviously Green's got a hit in his favor in the threes, but I think that Suggs has got more of those assists, steals, and blocks, which I think, especially when you're not shooting and you're shooting 31% from the field, you want something else to hang your hat on, and so I think he can do that more. So yes, we haven't seen it to what we thought this stage. Mind you, I still think we've given him a month now. It's a month into the season. I'm comfortable with folding him, although I will mention that in my Roto team, someone did drop Jalen Suggs, and I snatched him up straight away because in a Roto team, I can hide him on my bench. when he starts to play better, I can start to put him in my starting roster spot. And if it doesn't work out, then I can drop him, but I don't lose anything. But in a daily changes league, it is hard, especially if you're not punting the field goal percentage, which you probably should have been if you're drafting those, guard rookies. Although I think it's less of a fold to me than Green. I'm more confident in Suggs than I am in Green. However, the rise of Cole Anthony has dampened what I think that Suggs can do, and I didn't expect Cole Anthony to be freaking 2011 Derrick Rose at the moment, and I'm just putting up all these points and assists, and I don't know,
and
man.
some big dunks as well. That man can throw it down.
Yeah, he's surprised me a lot this season. So, and we still got Marco Fultz, who's supposed to come back at some point. So there is a threat to Jalen Suggs' playing time as well. So I don't know what they're going to do when that happens. So that is probably another reason to put him in the fold camp. So I probably do agree with you there as well. All right, let's move on to our last guy, another Houston Rocket, Kevin Porter Jr. What are we doing with Kevin Porter Jr.? I guess it's a pretty similar story to some of these other guys that we've just mentioned, but yeah, he's the 292nd ranked player at the moment. Are we holding, are we folding Kevin Porter Jr.?
Look, it's tough. It's a tough one. I am probably more on the hold aspect. But this man, to do a bit of comparison, he's really doing his best kind of Westbrook impersonation in terms of, my God, is he hurting you in a lot of categories and can be productive in some, but like 36% from the field, 64% from free throw percentage, terrible percentages, 4 turnovers a game, shocking as well. But, on the other hand, he is giving you 5 assists. He's giving you 1.3 steals, which is good. The 3-pointers are okay at 1.7. You would like to think that he does kind of turn it on a bit. The man did score 50 points last season, so I will expect him to have weeks, like good weeks. He's just had a really bad start, and for that reason, look, I'd probably be open to just benching him a fair bit, but I still could hold on to him for a bit longer. Just because he is hurting you. Maybe he does turn it on a bit, but I'm pretty close on the fold side. But for now, I'm holding, but I would be benching.
Yeah, he's definitely a bench option at the moment until he gets his shit together. But I think I'm more on your side with this one. I think he's a hold compared to those last two guys because, like you said, the assists are there, the steals are there. 1.7 threes, the nearly 13 points a game. Look, turnovers. Look, I don't care too much about turnovers, but like I know some people do. But 4.2 is pretty horrible. And for me, the biggest surprise for me is the free throw percentage. I feel like he can improve on that a bit more. I don't necessarily think he's like a punt free throw guy. We always said he was going to be a punt field goal percentage. Like in the preseason, we preached that he's a punt field goal percentage or he's a points league guy. In a points league, I think he's basically a top 100 player still. So in a points league, he's doing fine. And he can even approach that top 50, top 60 in that kind of format. But in categories, he's always going to have poor turnovers. He's always going to have poor field goal percentage. Not this bad, but it is something to consider. So if you're not punting field goal percentage, then maybe you do want to trade him to the team that is and try and get some good value. But if you are punting field goal percentage and the free throws are killing you, I've got a bit of optimism that that's going to improve. And obviously, I think the assists can start to rise up as well, and the points can come up as well. But these Houston Rockets, man, they just look so shit out there right now. One win on the season. You got to think at some point it turns around a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
Do you know they could definitely use some help from John Wall? I don't know, like just a veteran who can actually play point guard a bit. That would be my words of wisdom to the coach. And give Şengün more minutes.
Yeah, obviously. I was going to say.
Give me some Şengün minutes.
Yeah, Şengün, get him out there. Who needs Daniel Tice? Well, look, they're playing their part perfectly. They're riding line for that number 1 pick again. So I think this is exactly where they want to be. So, we don't need John Wall, but it would help if these guys started to hit a shot every once in a while. Alrighty, that'll do it for us today, guys. Let us know what you think about any of those holds and folds. Do you have any of these players? Let us know if you are pulling your hair out and how much hair you have left if you've got any of these players on your roster. And any other questions about any other guys that you're wondering if you should hold or fold or any trade questions, we always love to hear it. Make sure you follow us along on Twitter at Ball Boys NBA. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe on the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. When we get to 30 ratings, we're doing a Q&A podcast, and we'll catch you guys next time. Laters.